gonna be riding Dakota by myself again, so she's getting a lot better at that. Like she really starts to get things together. Like things are starting to come together for her. She's looking like this is just typical. Like she's used to being ridden and she's not super green 3-year old, so that's awesome. I love how she's standing still here. I'm using a little bit more positive reinforcement with her, and she's being more relaxed about it. So that's looking pretty good. I mean, ideally, I'd like her to stand and wait for me a little bit longer at the block, but um, definitely better than previously. Um, um, I did try to like bend her to a stop there because she did walk off, which a couple things about that. Obviously, like I've been saying in the other videos, like she was not doing it correctly. I probably should have added in definitely should have added in a lot more positive reinforcement to get her a little bit more connected to me. I didn't balance out my behaviors, and I shouldn't be doing quite that much bending to a stop either. Like I probably could have, if I use a little bit more positive reinforcement, just because she's good at stopping with 2 reins, I could have done that and added in the positive reinforcement because, like I said earlier, I don't want her to get stiff and stuck by using the 2 reins, but if I'm using it and training it through positive reinforcement, I don't think she would have had a problem with it. So I did want to talk about that a little bit more because I was very, very stuck on yielding the hindquarters, bending to a stop, which I think is important, and we weren't doing it correctly. There she flexed both sides very well. I think her kind of putting her nose in the dirt there is a little bit of a calming signal. Um, she looks like maybe she's a little bit distracted, so she might be a little bit uncomfortable right here. Um, but yeah, so I definitely could have improved on certain things, and there's definitely things I would have done differently now looking back on it. So, but she is progressing nicely overall. Like she can definitely um, just cruise around in the round pen a lot better. She's listening to the brain cues. Like here, she'll just kind of cruise around, bend to stop. I mean, I don't have that hind quarter, but she does follow it nicely. She is flexing her head. She is very soft on the bridle, so we do have that part. So like again, I can just kind of pick up on that rein going to the left, and she looks pretty good. I definitely think she's a little bit more uncomfortable with the bit versus just in the halter. I can definitely tell that. And I do ride her in the bit for a little bit more. Like I have a few more riding videos with her, and then I really go off and do a lot more positive reinforcement with her because this video is a couple years old. And she hasn't had a bit in since then, and I think she's a lot more relaxed. I don't see as many calming signals, so that's what I have to say about the bit as far as that goes. So but yeah, she is getting all the things are coming together for her for sure. Don't have the ground person. I cut that part out because she was behind that tree, the tree leaves. So um, we were just standing behind the tree. So some of this has got to be cut because obviously I don't have the best filming setup, but I did want to document her journey and the process of training her and things I would have done different, things I liked, etc. So, a decent walk for her. Like she's slow. Like that's just oh, there's a bird in the way. That's just how she's bred. But this is a pretty um forward walk for her, I guess. That's kind of ridiculous to say looking at it, but for her it is. So we've definitely come a long way in just like a short amount of time, honestly, since we did little short rides and I did a lot of repeating things and I did a lot of things wrong. But overall, like she's doing really well and she's staying nice and relaxed. I love all of those things. She's steering well, like I can just kind of pick up there and she's following that rein. She's bending through the neck. I've got her ears, I've got her attention. So I love all of that. She's bending decently. A little bit of resistance on the bit there. She kind of moved her head, but she's doing quite well. Cruise around through the middle. And she's steering really nice, following her nose. Perfect. I can kind of pet on her and she doesn't stop immediately. That was another thing I accidentally trained. Again, those like sequencing your cues. I would like pet her and then tell her good girl and stop, and she would get a treat. And so she thought petting meant stop. So you got to be careful with those things. But bend her, I think, to a stop here. She's actually like stepping under a couple times, but the last step she does not. I'm just waiting for her here to flex, but she is responding nicely. That's overall what we're looking for. No, she just gave her nose a little bit, which is a little bit hard to tell because she's a little bit far away, but that's what I was waiting for. And then I'll release the rein, and then we're just gonna sit here and hang out, which is very important for her, like you've seen if you watch the rest of her videos. And I've trained her to do this. Like she wants to walk off a lot, so she's gotten much, much better with that. Like obviously she's just chilling here, standing here. I should click and reward her because she's being awesome. But yeah, big, big, big difference. Really, really nice. Because before she could probably stand for a second or two and then she would go because I've been rewarding her so much for going forward, which is my fault. But this looks much better. So I'm just gonna cut through the parts where I'm in the trees and you can't see me. There you can see she just responds to that really light rain cue. A little bit of resistance in the bit. She's kind of chewing on her mouth. Like I'm sure it's not the most comfortable. I think I've switched her to just a simple snaffle at this point. I believe that's what she's in right now, but she did follow it and bend to a stop. Um, and waited for me to ask her to go forward, so she's staying nice and relaxed. So she is being soft and responding to that bit, but I definitely felt like she was more comfortable just in the halter. She's in a side pull now, and that works good, or halter, doesn't matter. Her for a trot, which looks fantastic. She's cool with me posting. That looks really good. We're going across the middle. We've added in like some steering. Like in the beginning of the trot, I think she was confused because I have a little grab strap on my saddle, and then I kind of slide down one rein just in case I need to bend her. I think she thought I was bending her to stop, which is totally normal and makes sense, but that's why she was a little hesitant in the beginning. But yeah, we've added all those things together. That looks really nice. Like we've trotted across, and then she kind of slowed down. We trotted up again. So those aids and cues are getting really nice, and she stayed nice and relaxed, and she's so smooth. Like she's just doing great. And then again, standing here nice and still. Like really, I don't even know how like why she's doing that. I only reward her a little bit for that. I really should be clicking and treating her for stopping and waiting, definitely, and that behavior would have improved even more. So again, nice decent forward walk. Beautiful trot transition. Her neck didn't move, her head didn't move. She doesn't look tight at all. She's cool with me posting. I've only posted on her a few times. We're going farther and farther distance. We don't need a ground person anymore. And I just click to her and she'll stop, and then I'll give her her treat. And she's getting really good at that. She just looks a lot more relaxed and happier, and like she understands more what it is that I want. I think she was just very confused in the beginning, obviously. I mean, she's a green horse, she's never been ridden. I definitely could have broken it down more for her, and I've talked about that before. I just kind of taken her quietness for granted and just, I'm like, oh, well, she'll be fine with this and this and this, and I should have broken it down, so. But I love this where she's just standing and relaxing. Petting on her a little bit, just hanging out. And she looks great walking off relaxed there. Nice loose reins. Great steering there. Beautiful. Ask her for a trot again. I kind of just get her set up and then ask her again, because she doesn't like to. She'll just break gait sometimes. And I'm not in a huge hurry to like push her back into it. I want her to stay balanced. I want to get organized and then ask her again. I'm not too worried about her going right back into it, because she'll go back into it when I ask. She'll just go off of a little bit of a leg cue and a voice cue, so that's why you don't see me immediately going back into trot, getting reorganized, rebalancing her, and then she can go back into it. So that looked nice. Go the other way. She can trot both ways. She's going around on the loose rein. She's looking really good. I'm trying to do a little bit of desensitizing to patting her. That's why I'm doing that so much, because like I said earlier, I had inadvertently taught her when I'm petting her, like when she's walking, she stops, and when I'm sitting on her, she goes. So, and I did that with my other horse too. So, I'm trying to get her to just sit there and like I can pet on her and she just stands still and is nice and quiet. So, and letting her stand for a little bit longer at times so she's not so thinking forward all the time, and she gets a nice place to rest away from the gate. And that's why you've seen me in this corner and the other corner by her shelter, closer to her shelter, so she's away from that gate. And thinking about her magnets. Her magnets right here by the gate. Again, a really nice trot transition. Probably could have done that closer to the gate. She got a little bit quick for her, like she was kind of thinking about getting into a canter maybe, but I asked her to bend to a stop and she came right back, which is also important. We got to make sure we have that button too before we go faster. And then I'm getting organized back into my trot. And that's what, like, if you see me kind of tip forward or stop abruptly, that's because I click to her. I know that's coming, and then she just stops really fast, and so then I kind of unseats me just a little bit. But she just really stops fast when I click, so I do know that it's happening because I'm doing it. So, but she's just doing a great job. And you know, like I've been shaping that going forward and rewarding a lot of that, and that's where my staying still problem comes from. But it definitely is working as far as the going forward, because if you've seen her throughout this process, like she was very hesitant to go forward, and now I can go get her right into a trot with just a voice cue. So that's pretty cool. I just didn't know how to balance it out at the time. Another beautiful trot transition here. Gonna do a bit of steering, which again, just like on the ground driving, she wants to stop instead of just steer, but she gets back into it nicely. And we're just working on steering around a little bit more at the trot, which looks pretty good. I mean, I'm not that mad about her not like wanting to stop instead of steer. Like that's not the end of the world. She'll figure it out. She's still very green, and I much rather have that than a horse that speeds up in response to that and gets worried. But again, that's kind of who she is as a horse and with her breeding and stuff. And I've probably trained that accidentally, so gotta undo some of that as well. But we're getting there. Decent steering again, so still very nice. Very light. Trot transition. Her little jog almost. I'm just gonna ask her for a little bit more. That looks better. Again, she wants to go ahead and stop. I gotta get her out of that habit of only doing a few strides. We need to do a bit more. So again, I'm like, nope, we're not ready yet. I'm not gonna push her and chase her back up into it. I'm just gonna get settled and then let her go ahead and go. I probably should have asked her for a few more strides there too before we rewarded, because I'm just reinforcing the thing that I just didn't want, because she went like 4 or 5 strides and then was like, okay, where's my treat? And then she did that a few times, and then this time she did that again and I rewarded her. So I should have gone at least like 6 or 7 strides and then clicked and fed her. So I'm just kind of rewarding that on accident. So you can see how I've done that without really knowing it. Just same thing with the bouncing. I wasn't aware of that at the time. You kind of learn as you go kind of thing. So but yeah, that's where that's coming from, is me, not her. So I definitely should have had her go quite a bit further, a little bit further, and then build up to it. And if you want to see another good example of that, watch Rhett's videos, because I do the same thing with Rhett, but we're doing it both at the trot and the canter. And I need to work on Rhett's videos and show you guys that too. That process, because he's a completely opposite horse of her. He's off the track thoroughbred. He's very, very forward. But it was getting him forward and relaxed and thinking about me versus just like going forward. So that's an interesting series too. So completely different than Dakota. But I love that she's just chilling here. I do need to be careful about this gate too, because I've been asking for trots on the other side of the round pen and I've been stopping on this side. So I need to be more aware of that as well. But I do like that she's standing more and just kind of chilling. So that is an improvement. Getting a really nice transition there in a different place too. We're off the rail, so that's making it a little bit more difficult, and she seems to be handling that well. This is much better. She's actually doing quite a few more strides than before, so that was actually quite good. But again, I gotta watch that gate too, so we're not too close to it. I don't want to make that magnet even worse. So again, I just want to let her stand and relax. Pet on her, rub on her, move around, get her used to all those things, that's totally normal. I get her to steer here, so I have the gate or the fence to help me out. She figures that out pretty good. She's pretty good at just following that rein and not getting too worried about it. Lots of good steering going on. She's really good at that halt, like we talked about before. It is important that I'm stopping and letting her rest again on that opposite side of the round pen away from the gate again. So this is good. I'm gonna get off there. She wants to look at my boot and bite my boot. Gotta be careful of that. So she might have a little tension there too if she's trying to like, not because she's trying to bite me, but they might do that just to kind of release some tension. So it might not necessarily be me. It could be the ground. It could be another object. You do have to be careful with that. So she had a nice little rest break over there. I want her to get used to me like putting my feet in the stirrups, taking them out, like moving around. That's just a normal part of riding. But it is important that she gets decent amounts of rest breaks too, especially if I'm using a lot of negative reinforcement. They have to have rest breaks. It just has to happen. If they just work and work and work, they're going to get really sour. If they don't have any rest breaks, they're going to have a lot of magnets. They're not going to want to leave certain areas, and they can just be sour to the whole arena or the whole riding process. So it's really important that they have lots of decent rest breaks. And I want to teach her that now, like early on, so that she doesn't get sour about riding. I want her to have a good, just a good start. Another very nice halt. She's very good at that. Very soft. She had a really nice little ride, just without a ground person. She was trotting and steering and walking and stopping and steering and doing all the things, so I'm really happy with that.